Well, this particular structure is the only original slave cabin that's still standing here at Brattonsville. The bricks that were used to build this structure were made on site by the people who were enslaved here, but they actually did bring masons in here to build the actual structure. We do have a brickmaking station here today to show you how the bricks would have been made by hand by the slaves. And in this particular type of structure, in this slave cabin, there would have been 2 families, or about 8 to 10 people living here. There would have been one bed in here most likely, and that would have been reserved for the oldest or a sick person in the family, but everybody else would have been sleeping on the floor or outside if it was warm. And they would have had a fire going pretty much at all times because they would have done all their cooking in here as well. They also could have cooked outside when it was hot, because when it is hot outside and then you're cooking in here with the fire, it gets pretty warm.
But this plantation has this kind of history for me and my family. Her mother, which would have been my great-grandmother, was 23 years old. She's on the list of the enslaved, which were called freedmen at that time, and the Union Army had to have a copy of a list of all enslaved people, which they call freedmen, and my grandmother was on that list of Harriet Bratman. She was 23 years old in 1865. She had 2 children, her oldest being Dan, who is pictured behind me, second Matilda, who was 10 months old at the time. I didn't know and understand much about our history in my first 18 years of life of growing up around here, because my elders didn't discuss it and didn't allow it to be discussed in our midst. They had the stigma attached to slavery, and many black people can bear witness, was not discussed, and there was just a negative and that they didn't want to be known about slavery. But since that time, the last 8 years, I've been working with Sweat of Our Brow and uncovering so much knowledge and so much understanding of where my ancestors came from. And I feel a duty to them that I see that their legacy is well preserved and standing up for it. So what you're looking at is my fellow family members. We have 7 families that we have identified right from this plantation. Their names are on this list, which I'm just happy to see so many people out, particularly African Americans, who are coming out here and see the importance of knowing their history and knowing who their ancestors are, and seeing that their ancestors are properly represented. Don't depend on anyone else but yourself standing up for their legacy. So I'm happy to be here to do that. Thank you. It's so important that young people know who they are and know who their ancestors are, because growing up not knowing who your relatives are, and you can intermarry. You can marry your cousins and things. So if you don't do that job and teach them who they are, how are they going to know? And it's critical. It's just so dangerous not to do that. It's unfair to them. And it's not their fault if, as a parent and as an elder, you don't do that. Make sure that that's being done, because history is so de-emphasized by us, and you can bear witness how important it is, because what you're doing, you're recording, you're filming. You cannot believe how important that is. One day, if somebody will pick these films up, and it will mean so much to them. You might have on that film somebody in their family, somebody that they know. I would like to have my grandmother on some film like that, or great-grandmother. Wouldn't that be so much to you?
We're focusing on the descendants today, and they're going to be on our formal program at 3 o'clock, reading from the 1865 Freedmen's List, which has about 80 names on it from Harriet Bratton.
Okay, I have the pleasure of calling the first set of names. Sam, Amy, Alex, Bristol, Adeline, Jane, Sam, Alan, Peter, Smith, Amanda, Lot, and Margaret.
Green, Melinda, Letty, Lydia, Dave, Ellen, Adam, Isabella, Ephraim, Rose, Reno, Andy, Henry, Julia Ann, Rachel, Matilda.
Will, Ann, Lucy, Robert, Child, Hannah, Claiborne, Fanny, Nellie, Lawson, and Caroline. Hiram, Nick. That's it. Okay.
Harold, Nancy, Celia, Eliza, Lydia, Jensen, Silva, Fowler, Molly, Wesley.
Ruthie, Nancy, Limbrick, Isaac, Silva, Susan, Haynes, Peter, Wash, Lila, Dan, Matilda,
Jefferson, Ida, Robert, Bernie, Clarissa, Mayran, Fred, Mariah, Libby.
Oliver, Catherine, Emily, Becky, Mary, John, Alex, Carolyn or Caroline, and Child.